I'm out again, of course. I'm actually going to be back on Thursday, so yay for that. Concussions are really serious. You do have to sit still, and I hate absolutely every minute of it, but I wanted to make sure that we still caught up, just because the first 3 lessons that you're going to be working through on your own should be easy enough to go through. So let's look at them. The first one is 4.1, writing equations using symbols. Some of you already did the exit ticket, which is great, but I wanted to walk you through just a couple of things. Quick class reset situation. When you come in, please make sure that you get your binder. Every single person should have a binder labeled, including if you are new to the class. When I'm there, you cannot ask me anything in the first 5 minutes. Don't ask to go for water. Don't ask to go to the bathroom. Don't ask to go get anything. If you can do it on your own, do it. However, leaving classroom is not happening. So make sure that you come with everything you need. Obviously, raise your hand and don't call out. We don't like to take too much time to call out because we don't really have that much time to get there. And stay in your seat. I don't do out of seat things. If I'm talking, you're not talking, you will receive fines and demerits for that. Consequences are just the same. The only thing that's really different is that 2 demerits results in a write-up and a dean call. So if I give you 2 demerits, the next time is automatically a dean call. And if you're sleeping, it's an automatic 0 in class because you missed everything, and I will not be reteaching it during office hours just because you should be awake in class. ClassBank jobs have been reset. The job board is open. You can go in there and apply for jobs. When I come back on Thursday, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But on Friday, new jobs will be assigned if necessary. If you want to keep your job, then you need to make sure that you apply for your job again. If you are not a part of ClassBank, please go to Google Classroom. Go to our class, go down to the resources section and click on ClassBank. The class code is there. I will make sure I try to reach out before you guys leave class just to make sure that you guys can get into ClassBank. Also with grades, your homework will no longer be printed. This week we're trying it on formative to see how that works with grading. Yes, I do have to grade a couple of them. Yes, you can complete the whole thing. With it being on formative, you'll be able to go back in and make sure you complete it within time. Again, 7 days, that's it, no more. Passports have your responsive grade, so please try not to lose them. It is easier for me to grade the passport than it is to go through everything. So I'm just going to dismiss that. And then make sure you do your Zern. The reason that a lot of people don't pass is because they are behind on their Zern. This week, you have more Zerns than you will usually have. So you should be able to, 1, do the exit tickets, and 2, catch up on Zern, seeing as you probably don't need the lessons to do the exit tickets. And remember, exit tickets are open the next day for retakes and are only open for a week. They will not be reopened. I will not be reopening anything after they are closed this RP or moving forward. So let's start with the first thing. So here's our talk about it. These things are not in the books. You guys will get your books. You can take your book and put your name on it now if you want and put it in your binder, or you can wait until I get back. But I want to make sure you have some examples before you do your exit ticket. So this is yesterday's lesson. We have 2 things in front of us. The first one says the number 1,157 is the sum of the squares of 2 consecutive odd integers divided by the difference between the 2 consecutive odd integers. Let me see if I can find my pen. There we go. So the first thing that I noticed is there's a lot of words, right? We've got the word is, then sum, the squares of 2 consecutive odd integers divided by the difference between the 2 consecutive odd integers. Is an equals word, sum is an addition word, squares means it's raised to the 2nd power, and then odd is odd numbers. So then we have on the right side the equation 1,157 equals quantity of x squared plus the quantity of x plus 2 all squared divided by x plus 2 minus x. So my question to you is, how are these 2 things related, and which representation do you prefer and why? Take a second to think about that. So the way these two things are related are they are the exact same thing. One on the left is in words, one on the right is in equation form. As for which one you prefer, your choice, but as for me, I prefer the one on the right because it looks a lot simpler to read than the one on the left. I actually prefer the equation as opposed to all those words because the words can be confusing, whereas the equation is a little bit more straightforward. All right, let's look at our first example. So in these examples, I'll do a couple annotations and then I will show my example right after. The first thing you need to do before you do anything else in these is to annotate. There are 3 steps for every time you're doing anything like this. Step 1 is to annotate. And even if you can't annotate on the screen, you can still write down the keywords so that you have a deeper understanding. What that looks like is the following. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to annotate it at the exact same time. So a whole number has the property that when the square of half the number, I'm going to stop right there. I know that the square means I'm putting something to the second power. Half the number is 1/2. And my number is going to be x. Oops, that 2 wasn't great. Is subtracted from. So if this is being subtracted from, this is the thing that's being subtracted from 5 times the number. That's going to be 5x. Sorry about my writing. We get is an equals word, the number itself. So the first thing we had to do was annotate. The second thing we have to do is to define the variable. You have to tell me what the x means or whatever letter you choose. In most of our cases and on your exit ticket and homework, you should use x. So the first thing I'm going to see is, let's see if I can do it. Let x be a whole number, and you have to be specific. Then I'm going to write the equation I have. I know that the first part we have is subtracted from something, so here's what I have. 5x minus 1/2 x squared equals x. You'll see something called definition and equation. My definition is my let statement, and my equation has my letters and numbers. Now, I know you're probably like, Miss TB, what in the world? It's just the pen. So here's what my exemplar for my iPad looks like. The 3 steps are on there. Annotate, define the variable, write the equation. Feel free to pause at any point to make sure you have these in your notes. I will show you what your notes should look like after. Let's look at another example. This example talks about Paulo. Paulo has a certain amount of money, okay? Some number of money. We're going to call it X. If he spends $6, hold on, spends means he got rid of, then he has 1/4 of the original amount left. 1/4 of the original left. So I have this lovely equation kind of already written for me. First thing we have to do is define our variable. Try to define it yourself. Here's what I define mine as. Let x be the original amount of money. And yes, you will see this better. That's my definition. Then my equation is x minus 6 equals 1/4 x. Here's a better look. I annotated in red, I defined my variable in purple, and I wrote my equation in blue. Okay, next one. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 372. Consecutive means one after the other. Sum means plus. Consecutive would be the first one, and then the second one is the same, first one plus 1, and the third one would be the first one plus 2. So if it asks you for consecutive numbers, you're just going to add a 1 or a 2 after it, just for consecutive. Is an equals word, 372. Try to write your let statement and equation before you keep playing. So push pause, write your let statement and equation, and then check your work. Okay, here's what I got. Sum is a plus word. 3 consecutive numbers obviously are annotated. My definition, let x be the first integer. It said consecutive integers, so I had to be specific about the word integer. Then I just add them up, and I got 372. You can simplify that. You can add all the x's and combine like terms, and you would get 3x, and you can add all the integers that are there too, plus 3 equals 372. And that's just a push. You do not have to do that. Last example. The sum of 3 consecutive odd integers is 93. Now this one's a little different because it says odd integers. It's similar to the last one. Sum means plus. Our first one would be x. Our second one would be x plus 2 because we have to skip a number. So if 1 is my first odd integer, I have to add 2 to get to 3. The same works for even. You just add an even number to it, and then x plus 4. Is an equals word, 93. Try to write the definition and equation yourself. Press pause. Here's what I got. Let x be the first odd integer. Make sure you're specific. And then the equation is written just as so. Before I have you practice in your books, if you would like, and you have already labeled your book with your name on it, you're going to look at what my notes look like so that you have good notes. The first thing you should have is your Math Word Monday from yesterday that was in the bin with your passports. If you did not grab one, please make sure you do. Here's what mine looks like. You can pause to make sure yours looks similar. It is important to have these words because we will be using this over and over again. Here's what my notes look like. I wrote not only the title of the lesson, so the lesson number, the title, and the date, just like you saw on the first page. My objective is written, and each of my examples are here with my 3 steps written as well. Annotate, define, write. Annotate, define, write. Annotate, define, write. Just to remind myself of what is required. So your notes should look something like this. Please feel free to pause to make sure yours do. Now you're going to go to page 1 and complete number 1, 4, and 5, and then work on page 9 and 10. If you feel ready, make sure that you complete 4.1 exit ticket from yesterday.